Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to The Hole in the World, an actual play of the Invisible Sun RPG. I am your GM, as always, Zach, otherwise known as Great Zamino, and I am joined once again by our four wonderful Vizsla slash cast members, starting on my left on screen, or, well, yeah, let's say left on screen, playing Gavriel.
Hey y'all, it's me, Marcy, aka Experimental Madness, and you can find me most places around the internet under that name, except for Twitter, where I am your resident cryptid, and you can find me under Marsful if when I'm ever there. Yeah, and today I am playing Gavriel Glinsky, the ardent iconoclastic apostate who hosts a choir.
Awesome. And below her on the overlay, playing our resident weaver, Maurice.
Hey everyone, I'm Bill. I'm playing Maurice Webb, the stalwart empath of the Order of Weavers who turns tales into reality.
Awesome. And switching over onto the right on screen on my overlay, playing our second apostate.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Hopper. Also known on the barren wastelands of the cyber worlds as Fail Deadly, and that is with a 3 instead of an E, Fail Deadly. So it kind of looks like badly, which also works. And today I'll be playing Twigg, the mendicant gallant apostate who noms on knowledge.
Excellent. And finally, rounding out this ragtag team, playing our resident Vance.
Hello, everybody. My name's Marissa, also known as Critical Kitten around the interwebs, and I play Velator Kyrrie von Hollingsworth, who is the first assistant librarian of the Order of the Vance. She is an eremtic stoic who understands the words, explorer of mirrors, guardian of Zaleska's grimoire, curator of a mobster's library, and recently conscript into certain revolutionary activities.
Awesome. I love this. This is a very good setup, and I think that is just a good segue as any to start talking about what happened last episode. So last episode, we hit our 25th episode, which was really fun. And in fact, if you want to eventually catch up to all of the stuff that we put up for this show, with the exception of the mythical lost episode 10, we have episodes 1 through 9 and then 11 through 25 up on YouTube now, so check that out. We're only a few subscribers away from being at 100, so once we get that, we'll get a very special URL that we can share, which actually has our branding and will be fun. Anyway, so what happened last episode, we ended up meeting a true spider in the form of Rajothmos, one of whom it turns out is actually the head of the Weaver Cell, of which Kenroy and Maurice are a part. Kyrrie, you got to go in and see how these bohemian weavers actually practice their craft and smoke their hookah and have a good time and celebrate the achievements of fellow members of the order. So not only that, Gavriel, you actually picked up your Lacunae suit, which is a super sick bit of armor slash camouflage from Luster's Armaments and Emporium, and at the same time, you kind of were waylaid by a bunch of rat goblins and roach goblins having like a fight, and you gifted the roach goblins something that seemed fairly precious to the rat goblin. So we'll see.
I will make friends with these guys.
I believe it.
I love these little gross babies.
No, we'll see what effect, if any, it has on these little trash monsters. And then, in addition to that, Twig, you went in for overnight care at Merryweather Hospital in Rive River, and yep. You're trying to fix some things with your brain and also with your heart, and you found out the location, or not kind of like the idea of where your heart might be, but most importantly, you unlocked a memory.
Indeed.
It was a fairly scary memory, or one that was fairly, let's say, evocative. So I wonder how that's going to work out for you now.
I'm sure everything's going to be fine. Nothing could possibly go wrong.
And in addition, Kyrrie, you also got a little bit of insight into Zaleska's grimoire, the pages that it gifted you. It turns out one of the spells you kind of recognized from the Vancian campus. So this is kind of where we are as we kind of enter into the episode. So without further ado, let me put on a little bit of music and we will start with Kyrrie. So we are entering week 3 of y'all's downtime. Here you've been busy. You have attended to Maurice, who at a given point in the your discussion over the course of the graduation ceremony, you learned that Maurice has the war report in his possession. Not only that, you have been plotting with Gavriel on and off revolution, starting with a bank's heist of a bank within the Marquis district, otherwise known as kind of the upper class district, and the seat of government within Satyrine, where the Deathless Triumvirate reside and make their headquarters. So what's going through your mind? What are you doing? I am assuming we're kind of picking up a little bit of time after the Weaver graduation ceremony.
I think Kyrrie probably would have left the Weaver ceremony, the day or two after it had concluded. Kyrrie, of all people, sort of knows the importance of going through the motions with an order and saying the right things, thanking the proper people for being allowed to attend, so on and so forth. So she probably would have greeted Kenroy properly and congratulated him, and all of that. I think, of course, she also would have said goodbye to Maurice and to Mac, who she met. Mac, who she met for the first time, and then Maurice, who she has seen for the first time in a while. And as part of that, she would reassure Maurice that she was going after Twigg and that she would be bringing everyone back together. So I think that is kind of where Kyrrie's intentions are at the minute.
Excellent. And so let's go ahead and turn a card to see kind of where all of these events find you. Okay. This one is called the Savage Sword. It is a card that empowers red and weakens blue. It belongs to visions, swans, blades, and water. Its meanings are war, savagery, strength, violence, brute force. The sword is a weapon of war, a metaphor for any kind of weapon one might wield. The savage sword is our basest nature, our predilection towards violence, and our shameful bloodlust, but it is also our strength to overcome obstacles and foes when we need to. It is the opposite of thought, strategy, or consideration. It is immediate and decisive, without hesitation or regard for consequence. The savage sword is the opposite of the revealing knife in most respects. So, the divination for this is some kind of conflict is imminent. Almost certainly blood will be shed. But this can go either way. It might be a danger to the person in question, or it might be a recommendation that they must use violence or brute force to succeed. This card turn can also indicate strength, or even a specific individual who is known for their physical prowess. The line for this is, there was nothing that could stand before him when the savage sword was drawn. And I think that this kind of segues nicely into kind of this idea of revolution that I think has gripped Gavriel, and also to some extent you. I think that kind of given this, conflict is imminent, the idea of like violence being a very real possibility that you have to deal with, kind of like, what are the preparations that you are taking in lieu of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is strange for Kyrrie because, you know, she's used to studying for tests. She's used to dealing with problems by going to the library, to consulting records, to gathering knowledge and information in order to solve problems. And it seems like she's presented with two situations here, both of which are not really going to utilize those skills in either way. The first of which is finding Twigg. And I think how this card influences that is that Kyrrie is not going to go back to the Vancian campus and research and try to figure out how she can triangulate Twigg so that she can find them. I think she's going to go on instinct in order to find Twigg, which is a risk, but I think there's just something telling her, you have a connection to this person now. And the answer to where they are is not going to be found in a library trying to force the universe to give you an answer. You should be able to find them on your own. And I think the other way that this reads is in terms of that upcoming revolutionary activity with Gav. And so I think before she seeks out Twigg, Kyrrie will send Gav a letter. Just sort of a quick note that says something to the effect of she's just seen Maurice at the Weaver ceremony, and there's something Maurice has asked her to do, and so she'll be back as soon as that's done, but she leaves it at that. No more specific detail.
Excellent. And yeah, so I think in that case you begin your search for Twigg and Earnest. So how would you like to go about it?
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Where are you mailing the letter and how's it getting there?
That's amazing. I don't know, Zach, what is the postal service like in Satyrine?
Well, it depends. I think the postal service is a kind of like a performative central body from.
Is it just the band?
Is it?
It's just the band that they also deliver letters.
Bleeps and bloops.
Yeah. What was it? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, they've got. You just hear such great heights every time you start writing a letter, and
when you stick a stamp on it, it just go, the city sleeps alone tonight starts playing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I think that you know what? I'm gonna say that this is canon. I'm gonna say that there is a postal service. I think that what this is there's an official, more kind of, actual official postal service full of rank and file nons and vislae and thought forms that go about performing daily duties, but they're also a crew of specialized couriers and mailers and postal workers that all offer their services for varying amounts of crystal orbs and currency. And one of them is the actual postal service. Just like songs from the gray while you wait for your delivery.
Now, the only question outstanding then is, does the Garant appropriately fund the postal service?
Well, the postal service is a really kind of, I would say that they're fairly well-to-do. Several of their letters went platinum. Others, really kind of like only one or two really though. So they're kind of like skating by on that success from previous decades.
Good night,
everybody.
I'm so proud of this pun and I hate myself so much.
Well, the worst thing about it is in order to get a stamp for the postal service, you have to approach the Pitchfork Agency, which specializes in pitchfork shaped or indented stamps. So
Love it.
look, you guys passed me the torch and I ran with it. What do you want me to do?
I think since this particular letter is also addressed to like the empty void space,
Exactly. Yeah.
I think Kyrrie probably.
Are you addressing this letter to my secret lair? You can't do that. It's a secret.
Well, did we talk about where mail would go? Because of course there has to be.
I was expecting mail.
Are you fucking taking notes on a criminal conspiracy?
Every revolutionary place has to have a place for mail to arrive. You never know.
We're not there yet.
We could be. We are now.
Oh my god.
It goes to a P.O. box.
Yeah. Oh, that's the other thing is, Gav, you have a dead drop in.
That's
So-
my PO box.
Yeah.
In the undersling.
Yeah, in the undersling. Yeah. So you know, Kyrrie, you know exactly where this is going to end up. Like,
Jesus.
but I think. But do you hire the postal service?
I think I do. Although I'm very tempted to just write like a litany of instructions and then hope some really like danger-seeking postal carrier would like want to venture out to the ruined expanse to prove their bravery or something. But I think Kyrrie's better judgment will win over in the end, and she will send it to the dead drop.
Oh, absolutely. I think. I will say though, unfortunately, the postal service is otherwise engaged. So instead, you get the death cab for cutie service.
I mean, not a terrible second best.
Yeah, and they're so-called. They're usually they do singing telegrams and like kind of Valentine's messages, kind of like messages of love. But they're all from the Pale, so they're all kind of skeletons and specters, but they're very effectively delivering.
I'm gonna commit a crime, a real crime now, not a fictional one.
I would also add that Kyrrie is very confused by all of this music because none of it existed in her version of the Grey, and she's just like, but where are the Rolling 20s bands?
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
Love it. All right. So
Well, now that we've successfully alienated all of our potential viewers.
So I think that what ends up happening is you, Gavriel, eventually get this letter in their dead drop.
Great.
Yeah. And because everything in the undersling tends to decay over time, you realize that one of the couriers left a little metacarpal bone inside the dead drop by accident.
Cool. Free stuff.
Okay.
I don't know how to follow that act up.
So Kyrrie, you have delivered this telegram to Gav. Where do you start looking for Twigg?
Well, in the spirit of the Savage Knife, she's going to go to one of the last places she saw Twigg, because that's also logical as well as brash and acting on instinct. And so she's going to go to the abandoned parking lot where Jaren was buried.
Okay. Remind me, Twigg, what level is your house?
I have no idea.
So we're going to start at a 3. Now, I would like you, Kyrrie, to go ahead and make me a searching roll.
Sure. I can pump a Bene into that also.
Your target's going to be a 4.
Okay. And that's a 4 on the die, so 5.
Excellent. So essentially the thing is that as you are looking for the house or the kind of lot, you realize for some reason, like, your abilities to find it are like, it's almost like it's kind of like, was it here? Was it elsewhere? What happened to it? Where is it? And you kind of realize, oh, this is being kind of magically hidden. And it's a really kind of interesting revelation you get as you kind of happen upon the lot, or at least what you thought was a lot. So, Twigg, I would like you to describe for me how this lot has changed since you've gone in for observation, and not only that, what Fix-Up has been up to.
So, and Fix-Up has since Kyrrie saw it. It's changed pretty radically. What was previously, there was basically, it looks like every single building on 3 sides had collapsed into this space, leaving like this very cracked, broken pavement and like small scrubby weeds, just rubble strewn everywhere. All of that's been kind of pushed to the side and mounded, kind of forming almost like a tiny crater. And by tiny, it's actually pretty large. It's like it's almost a city block. But there is green everywhere. There's vines growing, thorn bushes along the edges, some small trees. It's been like a few weeks probably since you've been here, but it looks like this has been growing for years already. And in the center of this space, right where Jaren's body is, there's a young silver tree with silver bark and silver leaves sprouting from the earth. And underneath that, you see these small, pale, ghostly white plants with little pods sprouting off them all around the base of this tree.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
And Fix Up has been, I don't know how Fix Up knows this. I think Fix Up the space is magically camouflaged using the metaphysical concept of camouflage. So when you look at the space, your eyes just kind of, they can't focus on it, and they just want to slide past it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that you realize as things are kind of like, I think that there is a subtle movement that you see within the house, or kind of like within this lot itself, and you recognize one of Twigg's creations. Actually, Kyrrie, you've met Fix Up before, so you do recognize Fix Up as they are kind of moving through. They are a little bit larger than the last time you saw them. It seems as though, also with regard to the verdancy of the area, it seems to be affecting the entire new neighborhood, this entire area of expanse that has been reclaimed. And you are also seeing around you, there are many people that are, apparently they're like contractors off in the distance. There are people with like surveying equipment. There are people in the midst of reconstructing this expanse. Very quickly you realize, I think there seems to be an appetite for more space from the city. But anyway, this is the kind of what you see, the tableau as you enter into the area.
Well, I think as Kyrrie passes the silver tree, she remembers this spot and the significance of it. And so she's kind of going to rest a hand on the bark, just very, very briefly in recognition. And as she does so, I think her eyes travel down to the pale plants underneath. And with her botany classes at her Vancian training, would she recognize these as pale seed plants?
Oh yeah. I mean, these pods are very young, but each of them, they seem to have like a coloration or pattern that's very strange. And you realize that it is the beginnings of a small skull in this discoloration on each of the pods. And it's different across pods in different ways, but they all seem to have that kind of almost like calavera dulce kind of pattern. That said, I need you to make me a perception roll.
Sure. And that's a 3.
Okay.
It's not particularly perceptive.
There's a flicker in the corner of your vision.
I'll take a look.
You see nothing. I will say this, it is something like light. It bends light, whatever it was.
Ooh. Okay. Quick question on the pale seeds. Would Kyrrie know enough from a botanical perspective to like know whether or not it would be good for the seeds at this point to just kind of like till the soil a little bit? Or is there something she can do to like just care briefly for those seeds and as she's there?
I will say that as you begin kind of like looking very closely at the seeds, you just hear that voice from Fix Up. Careful.
Kyrrie will turn.
And yeah, Fix Up is kind of looking at you, and you realize that there is kind of like a creased, almost angrily furrowed brow that immediately, like made out of shrubs, that immediately relaxes as soon as it sees you.
Kyrrie's gonna brighten. A Fix Up. And she'll hold out her hand again, as she did the first time they met.
And again, like, Fix Up reaches out and then pauses and hesitates for a moment and then takes your hand.
How are you?
Growing. Well.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. I've come looking for Twigg. Do you know where they are?
Gone to... And I'm going to turn a card and see how much of a link Fix Up has with you. Ooh. This one's interesting. The Untrustworthy Mirror. Meanings: illusion, false identity, failure. Can we trust the mirror? Shadow thinking would say yes, but wisdom gained in the actuality suggests otherwise. When you don't look into the mirror, what's the mirror looking at? I would say that, yeah, there's just, I think that you feel Fix Up like reaching out. You kind of see them furrow their brow as if in deep thought, and can't remember, but was not. And yeah, Fix Up just seems confused. I think that you kind of get the idea, though, you feel this kind of vibrant connection between Fix Up and Twigg, and you kind of wonder if Fix Up was a little older, if they could actually know exactly where Twigg is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Kyrrie gets the impression that Fix Up may one day kind of have a closer direct line to Twigg than it currently does now. In which case, I think she'll ask, "What is this? This looks very different than when we first met."
And are you pointing at the tree?
Yeah, the house.
Yeah, or at the house? Oh, okay. You just hear Fix Up say, "This is home."
Home. Does Twigg live here now?
Yes.
With you?
Yes. Yes. And there's just kind of, you realize that Fix Up's kind of still kind of learning conversations and social tics.
Which Kyrrie is delighted at, because it just seems like Fix Up is a student. And so I think Kyrrie's going to say, like, just beam and sort of look like, "Good job, great, you did a good job, Fix Up." And then she's kind of going to say, "Well, they have to come back here at some point, don't they? Do you think Twigg's house would mind if I stayed and waited for them?"
No. And I think it's actually Fix Up saying that, and not at them actually kind of thinking of Twigg. They seem to really just like having you around. I would like you, though, let me think. Okay, so I am going to... All right, so I think that as, Fix Up is kind of accommodating you, they kind of point to a few like makeshift little bits of furniture and kind of places where you can rest. What do? Do you just kind of want to just sit patiently? How does that work? How do you want to wait?
There is an interior, Zach.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think this is a question, I guess, for you, Hopper. Would Fix Up be able to like admit me to the house, or like have the ability to open the door? Because Kyrrie probably won't break into your house, but like
I have no idea. I think that Fix Up is kind of a little bit part of this space and part of this house, and there's not really, I think the relationship between Twigg and Fix Up and this little chaparral sage baby is like it's not a Twigg's too much of an anarchist. It's not a possession. It's not restrictive like that. The space is shared.
Love it. So in that case, I think Kyrrie, feeling like she'd gotten permission, would wait indoors if there isn't indoors to wait in.
Absolutely. And it's almost as though Fix Up is literally your key in. As they take your hand, again, they're kind of tug, and that kind of, there is basically like a long wall of shrubbery and plants that seem to make up a door, and it parts as Fix Up leads you in. Now, Twig, is there anything in particular in the interior that you want to say is there?
Yeah,
You have a
it's-
library.
You do have, I forgot, you do have the cumulonimbus mattress.
Yeah, so it is a punk rock hobbit hole. It's kind of low. Everything's kind of built built in this out of debris, but like held together by roots and like growing life. So it's like it looks kind of structurally sketchy, but like is actually extremely sound, and everything has an organic flow to it. There's a couple different small nooks and crannies, one with a very nice mattress, and there's kind of a table slash desk that's just a single slab of concrete that's been kind of put there. And in the back of the room there's a giant stack of like pulp fiction books, like a mound of those. And in the back of the room there's a kind of shelf space that's kind of formed, and you see about 7 or 8 little balls about the size of a racquetball, with each with a very carefully printed tag.
I will say that it could definitely stand a little bit of love from a more delicate touch, but
I
it's
was
a
going to
home.
say, do you keep your books in the kitchen?
Yes.
Yeah,
Those
just,
there is a few books that are on a like small shelf, but it's mostly it's like a 6 foot wide, 4 foot tall mound of paperbacks.
okay.
Everybody's got to eat.
All right.
Do you have any books that are like for teaching or like about subjects that like Fix Up could learn about?
Ooh,
Or are they all like pulp fiction?
I think Twig likes junk food. But I think there's probably some botanical stuff and maybe some like field guides to I think it's a lot of like whatever the invisibles or whatever Satyrine / this Invisible Sun's World equivalent of like the Smithsonian Field Guide is, or the Audubon Society, where it's just like this is their world, this is how they fit in.
Excellent. And I will say that there is I'm gonna actually pull a card, see if you you know what, actually I think what we'll do is I would like you to if you're waiting, are you kind of trying to stay awake? What are you how are you waiting?
I think so. Kyrrie's not one for kind of like making herself at home when the owner of the house is not there. So I think she's trying to disrupt as little as possible until Twig gets back. But I think given that she has Fix Up as company, you know, she'll kind of follow Fix Up's lead. So like if Fix Up makes something to eat, I don't know what Fix Up eats, but it might eat something that's in your kitchen. But like again, like then that to her like shows that there's a cue. Okay, you know, you can make yourself a cup of tea or something and not feel out of place. And I think too, seeing the books, she'll spend her time as she often spends her time waiting, which is reading and studying. And I think she'll even ask Fix Up, you know, do you want me to read to you?
And there's a moment of hesitation again, and you just hear, yes, very much so.
And so Kyrrie will definitely read like the Smithsonian Guide to Plants out loud. And I mean, it's a reference book, so, you know, it's not particularly invigorating reading, but given that Fix Up is a botanical itself, that I think Kyrrie hopes that it might be more entertaining than to a different kind of Islay.
Okay. While you are reading through it, there is a particular story that you read. I will say it is of some interest to you. Which is that there is it is called a God's Tulip. which is so named because it is believed that somewhere in the Silver Sun, a god in despair and in sadness over the loss of their lover wept upon the hills that adorned the palace of Frigeleva, the warden of the Silver Sun. And where this god cried and shed her tears is where the tulips first sprouted, each of them bearing a outer layer of petals that are deeply silver, with touches of sheens of blue. It is said that these tulips will have transformative curative properties.
Interesting. Has Kyrrie seen one of these before, or this is just an entry?
It is an entry, and it is believed that they are very rare, and they grow only in the Silver Sun.
Okay.
Okay. So, as you are waiting, we are going to cut to Twigg. Twigg, you have had this vision in the Merryweather Hospital in Rive River. What is going through your mind? What are you doing? Are you kind of like interrogating the Yiman? Are you trying to make your way back? What's going on?
I think first things first, Twig is gonna bum some writing stuff, like some hospital stationery or whatever, and wants to write down a detailed account of what that memory that just came to them was.
Okay.
And then I think that I believe Literalum is with me.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Twig is going to kind of fold this up very tightly. They're gonna write as small as possible so it's like a postcard sized thing, and fold it up and then give it to Literalum and just can you keep this safe for me?
As Literalum touches the paper, it's almost as though they kind of also absorb some of the knowledge of this. Being creatures of paper and literature, you share this almost kind of this ability, with the exception that it's really more knowledge that Literalum gets, whereas you consume this typically. So as you pass this to Literalum, a little text appears across its chest. This seems scary. But yes, I can hold on to this.
Thank you.
And yeah, literally, Literalum just kind of, you hear the ruffling and shuffling of pages as it sticks this thing inside of itself. What do you do?
Let's see. This is correct me on the timeline. This is week 3.
Yeah, you both are in week 3.
We're both in week 3. I think Twig is going to, after not having found Maurice, I think Twig is probably gonna actually do some grocery shopping, but not on camera. And is just looks down at Literalum and just goes, "Ready to go home?"
And there is you realize that Literalum is experimenting with illustrated book designs, as well as kind of like illustrated manuscripts, and you see like a little woodcut of a figure holding up a thumb in the face of a bright shining sun. So affirmative, yes. That's yeah.
Twig is just thrilled about this.
That said, I would like you to make a perception roll for me.
All right, D10s. Is this I don't know, would searching be relevant for this or no?
This is more just kind of your passive awareness. So just tell me what you get.
I'm gonna use can I use a Bene for that?
Absolutely.
Okay. That's a 3 + 1.
Okay. So on a 4, you get the most obvious thing, which is that Literalum is bigger. Literalum seems to have graduated from a small bunch of pages to about the size of a kind of like a mass market paperback. And that's what you get.
Old buddy's getting a spine.
Yeah, so I take it you start heading home.
Yeah. I think that Twigg has been consistently maintaining their spells that they typically keep.
Yep, give me them
Active.
depletion. Give me them depletion rolls.
So I feel like I should roll for those. So I believe that's depletion 0 and depletion 0 through 2.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's a 1. So plentiful pockets is still hot to trot, and culpable aura is also a 1. So I'll have to recast that.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you are no longer inculpable. People regard you a little bit more carefully as you walk down the street.
Can I fix that?
Yeah, totally. You can just spend your sorcery.
I think Twig
yeah.
just gives finger guns to somebody and cast the spell.
Yeah, at which point I think that person goes, oh! And then as you cast the spell, oh! And yeah, so inculpable aura is active again. Okay, so you make your way home. Kyrrie, while you are waiting, I need you to make another perception roll for me.
Sure. Oh dear, although that's 2 perceptions in rolls in a row is always a scary thing. It means it hasn't gone away. That's an 8, so much more perceptive this time.
Yeah, I think that you see, you again kind of see that flicker of movement, and you instinctually, this time you catch it, and you move, and you see a shimmer of silver move out of your vision.
Ooh.
Ooh.
And then you hear a...
How much does Kyrrie know about Jaren? Did Kyrrie ever hear Jaren speak?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
Oh wait, he did shout, but I don't think you heard a quiet rasping, so it's...
No. Yeah, so Kyrrie wouldn't probably put that together. Even with the silver, I think she's a little weirded out by this. I think she'll kind of go like
house.
Yeah. Who goes there?
You hear nothing.
Hello?
No response. And Fix Up. Oh wow, that music change happened without my help. So Fix Up kind of also has this kind of, as you kind of have that moment of fear, Fix Up also seems to, you hear a little the shake of leaves as you realize that Fix Up is shivering with fear a little bit. What do you do?
I think Kyrie's hand goes to the gun at her side, which is a very weird reaction for her, and also I think in line with the card pull of the vicious knife. I think she puts her hand on her pistol and is reminded that she's armed, and so I think she withdraws that and goes, if you're listening, know that I'm dangerous.
You hear the sound of leaves moving very quickly, one after the other. What do you do?
I think she looks for cover, because thinking back to her drills with Gav, it's like, you can't shoot someone effectively unless you're behind cover, because then you're a target yourself. So she's like, to go on the offensive, I've got to find cover. So I think she looks for table or a mossy area.
I'm so proud.
Rock.
I'm not even there, but I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
She's read a lot about this situation.
Do you take Fix Up in one arm, by the way?
Yes,
Okay.
100%.
You dive over the table as Twig, you push past the branches and leaves that make up your front door, and you see a panicked Kyrrie jump over some of your kind of still forming furniture. What do you do?
What?
Oh, Twig, thank God. Whew. Did you know that your house is haunted?
No.
There
By
is a ghost.
you?
No. Oh, yes, that's right. I'm in your home. That must come as a surprise to you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Wasn't
Thank
expecting
you.
that.
Thank you for your hospitality.
I think Twig is gonna arch an eyebrow at Fix Up, who I'm just picturing like a Fix Up that's under one arm of Kyrrie's and this little sage plant.
Kyrrie waving a gun with like a sage plant in her other arm.
It's always sunny in Satyrine. Yeah, you're here. That's great.
Yes.
Well, welcome.
I love what you've done with the place. It's very you.
Yeah, kinda is.
But back to the matter of the ghost. There is a ghost. It's silver and it laughs a lot. That's all we know so far.
You see Twig definitely grabs Fortinbras on their off their like thigh holster. I swear by all that is sacred and unsacred, Jack, if you're in my fucking house, I will shoot you. If you don't show yourself now.
You hear no response.
Don't worry, I didn't get a response either, so it isn't personal.
What? Why do you think there's a ghost?
Well, I saw one. Well, I saw something. It was silver. Kind of like that tree that's outside. About that shade. And it laughed. And that's all I know. Apart from that, it wouldn't communicate. And trust me, I did try. I never pull a gun before I try talking first.
I'm gonna have to kill this dude a third time. The fuck?
Wait, are you saying the ghost is Jaren?
I mean, I'm not exactly an expert. Hi, what's up? I'm Twig. I'm new here. I'm new in town.
What are several other things about you? I'm sorry. Okay, no, go ahead.
We're not gonna do the whole Mulaney routine.
No.
But I have no. What do you do in this situation, Kyrrie?
When you have a ghost?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never been in a possessed building before. I suppose you could count Radio Tower when we were there, but that ghost spoke to us.
I will tell you this though, Kyrrie. Of your knowledge, the thing that kind of strikes you is the very first thing that strikes you is a seance. From as kind of your experience and your reading of like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle from The Grey and that sort of thing. Yeah.
She loves that. Yeah, so she's kind of going to say, well, if the ghost doesn't want to speak to us, maybe it can't. Maybe we have to have a seance or something for it to fully come into corporeal being. I must say, I don't know much about the world of the Pale, but it seems to make sense to me.
Well, I hate that, so...
You could also continue to live with a ghost infesting your home, but it is up to you, I suppose.
I mean, it just laughed.
For the moment. I did get threatening auras, but that's as far as it went before you appeared.
I guess we'll burn that bridge when we come to it. What? Not to be blunt, but why are you here?
I think as you're asking this, like Kyrrie has kind of gone into the kitchen, and where when she first came to your home, she was like, didn't want to touch anything, feeling like very, I think now she's kind of in waiting for you, has kind of acclimated to the space. And so is like making a cup of tea in the kitchen. Like, would you like one? And then as you say that to her, looks and is like, oh, right. Yes. I did try to knock first, but you obviously weren't home. And yeah, I'm here, not on a social call, although that would be lovely. I'm here actually to ask if you wanted to come back with me. to see Maurice.
I went looking for Maurice. He's not at the hospital.
No, he actually went back to his weaver cell. That's a whole other story. Weavers are a very interesting group of people, I'll tell you that. Very different from Vances. I had no idea. But they play very good spiders games, which is such a cool art. I'll have to play you sometime. It's lovely.
I think Twigg's just kind of letting Kyrrie's babble wash over them. And we'll definitely like take a cup of tea. I imagine it's probably pretty good tea too.
It's your home. What kind of tea do you stock?
I think Twig buys shitty tea, but like their general vibe, the green thumb vibe, means that it turns when you brew it, it turns into really good tea.
Oh, but Kyrrie brewed it, so she doesn't have a green thumb. So is it just really shitty tea?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. Is the presence enough?
Pull a card.
Pull a card.
Yeah.
Is it good tea?
We need to know, Zach. We need to know.
Important questions.
I would say that just the sheer verdancy, I think that it's probably pretty good tea.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good.
Not only that, but there's also kind of like this residual magic of pleasant memories. Anyhow. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to see. I'll see Maurice. Looking at Kyrrie, does Kyrrie have a scar?
She does not.
Kyrrie, have you ever had a scar right here? I'm not sure that from my recollection of the description, Kyrrie had a scar on her forehead or on the side of her head.
All right, around her left temple.
Around your left, yeah. Like, so have you ever had a scar right here?
Kyrrie, you know exactly what he's talking about, or they're talking about.
Right here. Why do you ask?
Memory's funny. When I was in the hospital, one of the angels offered to help me find my heart. And side effect of that treatment, I guess, was a memory. I remembered something that seems momentous.
What did you remember?
You, me, Maurice, somebody else I don't recognize.
Not Gav? And why are you asking about the scar?
Because you had a scar in the memory.
You're sure?
Positive.
Kyrrie takes a second and just sort of leans back. Well, I don't remember ever having a scar there. But that's not to say I couldn't ever have.
Twig, you have perfect recall as part of your
Yes, as a Logavore.
as a Logavore. I'd like you to make an intellect roll. See if there's anything else that stands out to you.
About the memory?
Yes.
Dope. No, that's why I'm looking at the wrong thing. Can I use... I'd like to use Sortilege?
Yeah, absolutely. Roll 2 dice.
Or actually, can I use Hidden Knowledge?
Yes, you may use both.
That is not ideal. That is a 0 and a 5.
Okay. So is the 0 the magic die?
Yeah.
Okay.
Flex.
You are remembering something about the memory, which is that you are trying to consider the other person, the one that you didn't know. and you are thinking, you are kind of almost exploring kind of like who this person was, remembering different parts of their outfit, like, and as soon as you get to their face and this woman's face and her eyes, you just have a blinding headache.
Oof.
Yeah.
I think you literally see Twig kind of do a fuck.
I will say this though, there was something vaguely familiar about her.
Familiar, but not something I can place.
Mm-mm. Every time you get closer to it, you just get, oh, fuck, this headache.
And could Kyrrie ask Twig to describe this other person to her, or would that result in the same headache?
I think you have just that general description I gave during the last episode when you just black hair, streaks of gray, what was it? Probably darker, kind of like, no, not darker skin, heavily pregnant, dress regalia, or not dress regalia, field uniform.
The field uniform we were all wearing.
Yeah.
And that doesn't ring any bells for Kyrrie.
You just remember when Twig, you saw Twig in your vision of them in the same uniform and yourself.
Right, but that like general description doesn't remind her of anyone. There's no familiarity.
No, none. While you guys are considering this, I am going to cut to Gavriel. Gavriel, what additional preparations are you making in advance of your heist?
So as for, I think we covered some of this in the last session, that Gav is taking detailed like a map of the exterior as she's also gone inside, and done some reconnaissance of the bank that she's planning on hitting up.
Mm-hmm.
What, like, okay, so for my own sanity, when is that happening?
So you are in the beginning of the 3rd week. When
Gotcha.
do you want it to happen?
Well, I can only do it once Kyrrie can also work with me. And since I've gotten this letter, I'm on her timetable.
Okay. So yeah, and you do receive that letter from her, from your dead drop. And then, so you are on her timetable. I will say that your reconnaissance of the interior of the bank, give me another roll. Give me a perception roll.
Okay. That's a 9 on the dice.
Okay. So on your interior kind of perception roll, I want you, like, the thing that you notice is that there is a large central desk around which there are several receptionists or clerks, bank clerks. It seems almost like this big circular area. There is what appears to be a very large private guard. And I say large, I mean physically large on the inside, manning the door.
So what I have from before is there's one major entrance, one teller leaves through an aperture through the walls.
Mm-hmm.
And one... Oh, got it. Sorry, that was from a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
My notes ran together in my notebook.
Yeah.
Those were the 2 things that I had from my last time.
Yeah, and almost like clockwork, occasionally you will see those people that exited out of the bank. Typically when you saw them, they were doing like a smoke break or like going out for lunch.
Right.
Yeah. So you almost like see this from the other side where somebody is leaving out the back, and what appears to be this large kind of facade of like semi-concrete, and there's a very ornate wooden door.
Mm-hmm.
And you see, with that 9, I will say that you do see one of the tellers whisper something before walking through the door. The other thing you notice is that the private guard on the interior of the bank is a very large individual. You would say that this person is kind of, you remember Erlosk, how they seem to have undergone changeries in order to become a better
Right.
pit fighter. It's kind of like that, except it's almost like you see that there are no joints, there are no arms, there just appear to be these large kind of gauntlets and attached to bracers, and that seems to take the place of somebody's arms.
I'm just picturing those massive statues in Dark Souls and Anor Londo that just like wail on you.
Oh yeah, like very similar to that. Like but the idea here is that essentially they seem to be like almost like floating armor. Like they're just like they seem to have a body that you can't see, like a silhouette, something like that.
Love it.
Yeah. I will say, I'm gonna pull a card to see if anybody makes note of you. And the card is the Messiah, which is the defender of Vision, Swans, Blades, and Water, which is change, salvation, and familial love. Many fear change, others embrace it eagerly. Often, not always, but often, the former live happy and satisfying situations, while the latter do not. In other words, change is a salvation that not everybody needs. The Messiah is the defender. She defends by changing the things that threaten or menace. Something changes drastically, a new leader or other prominent figure emerges. Okay. So as you are making your way out of this interior reconnaissance, you see that somebody is applying graffiti to the side of the building.
Is it the same style as the graffiti I've been leaving?
Yes, but there seems to be a notion attached to this, which is change is coming. And the person that is applying the graffiti has very large wings that seem to be inverted, as though the shoulders would be at the middle of her back. And as you see these large wings that are orange and red in color, there are a number of words inked all over her skin, which basically seem to be words meaning rebellion and anarchy and what was it? Fuck this, the pristine guard. Fuck the thaw. There's all kinds of these phrases just scattered throughout her body, and that is when you see two teams of pristine guard trying to close on the position of this figure, which is very clearly an angel. The only thing is, it almost like a person with inverted wings, but she's 8 feet tall.
I see this, and I'm assuming I'm coming from behind her, if I can see the flanking that's about to happen. I give a shrill whistle to get this person's attention.
Yeah.
And I'm gesturing for her to quickly come with me.
As you do that, she kind of cocks her head at you. I'd like you to make an interaction roll for me.
Yeah, I've got the spinny halo that's full blown, obviously. But interaction is always a fun bet.
I will tell you this. I will give you 2 to your venture because you have the halo in your chest.
I'm gonna pop my only bene into it too.
Yeah. So you're starting with 3.
All right. 6 on the dice, so 7 with the additional bene.
Okay. I will say she doesn't go with you. But what she does instead is she sees the pristine guard, nods and winks, and then takes flight and leaves the Marquis Quarter. And you just hear the impact of a truncheon on the brick where she was previously standing. The pristine guard, they're about 6.5 to 7 feet tall. They're fairly mechanical, but they don't even come anywhere near. They're a head shorter than her, and she takes off.
Oh my god, can I follow her?
Yeah, give me a search.
Yeah, I feel like I want to leap up onto the rooftops and kind of give a chase.
Okay, go ahead and give me This is going to be movement, because you are trying to keep pace with her, and she is flying fairly quickly.
What is that? What is my venture on this?
I'm going to say...
And I need to double check something, but
she's
yes.
fairly quick. I'm going to say it's a 10 to follow her.
Oh, well, no, it's not a 10. It's a 5.
Okay.
But I wanted to... I think I can fly. I took something recently.
All right. Give me a shot. What you got?
No, I can't, unfortunately.
Okay.
It had something to do with feathers, but not that way.
Okay. So in which case, yeah, you just see this figure taking off for a different part of town. If you had to guess where she was going, she seemed to be heading to the Confederacy of Cloisters, which you would know is an area where many of the religious orders make their home in Satyrine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you get all of that information from your reconnaissance. You also have that encounter. Remember it going in. We're going to cut back. And I think that at this point, I'm going to cut to Maurice. So, Maurice. Actually, let's go back to idea. Okay. So, Maurice, you have been working at Kenroy's exercises, which essentially they take a much more different form than you've had previous experience with. They are, instead of teaching you how to feel the weave and how to feel the different aggregates and feel the presence of them, instead, he's basically teaching you how to be a better teacher. The idea of kind of creating lesson plans and basically digestible lessons and content and demonstrations, and tailoring things for specifically minded people and adult learners is all kind of part and parcel of what he is imparting to you. I will say that not long after your game, Rajathamos leaves the cell to ostensibly do business around Satyrine, or to meet with other weavers that he is mentoring. So that said, basically a lot of this back and forth is between you, Kenroy, and Mac, who is, again, kind of like puppy dog following your every move and trying his best to essentially kind of replicate your powers as a weaver. What do you do? Describe for me like the beginning of this third week for you.
So I think Maurice is taking to heart Kenroy's, instructions, and trying his best to make good lesson plans. But Maurice's strength is based on kind of extemporaneous, conversation and connection. And while he is struggling to implement maybe the best lesson plans, he has been good at getting to know Mac, and talks to Mac about, of course, his memories in the Gray, but also his memories here, and what Mac wants and why he's at the cell. And
Mac is, I think he kind of is a little bit caught off guard by just how blunt this is, or kind of how straightforward your questions are, at which point he's just, well, I tried to all these different things. People kept on telling me what I was supposed to know and what, how I could better learn about myself. This Marlin fella thought I should get attached to this fella named Jaren, but then he kind of pushed me into a pit, and I didn't feel very good, so I didn't really spend much more time with him. And
he's a bit of an asshole.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well. On top of it, I just, I remembered how much you talked about how being a weaver helped you acclimate, and even though you don't have much of a memory of your events, that, I just always thought the world of your counseling. You helped me a lot. And so I just figured I'd reach out and see if I could get a bite, and they referred this fellow named Kenroy, who it turns out, knew you,
and now we're back together.
Yeah, coincidences, right? They keep on saying like that's a thing in Satyrine. Is that true? Like I'm just gonna keep running into people, same people over and over again?
I mean, you think of it as either coincidences are a thing or that they're not a thing. Does that make sense?
Like a quantum state is what you're saying.
Yes, Mac. Exactly.
I picked up some of that old shadow knowledge they keep on talking about.
And Maurice kind of prepares a cup of tea in the style of the charm that he makes, where agitated people become calmer. But this just his style. He's not trying to calm down an already calm Mac, and talks to him about if a connection to Satyrine is what he wants, then connecting to the aggregates could be the way forward, and begins kind of very clumsily with it's one of his first lessons, and talks about choosing your first aggregate, or how the aggregate chooses you. And so he's going to try to have Mac reach out and tug at some threads and see what comes back.
Okay. I am going to turn a card and see what Mac comes up with. And whether it's not, and this one is the Golden Ship. Notions, cats, clocks, and wind. Wealth earned, honor, prestige, and respect. There are many ships, but only one golden ship. This legendary vessel supposedly carries only the greatest heroes, the most influential celebrities, the highest nobles, and the most powerful Vislay to ports of call most people cannot even imagine. Even seeing the ship is a great honor. It represents wealth and prestige. A highly positive card, the golden ship suggests that one will earn wealth, fame, or respect, or all three. It presages a successful endeavor, but usually only if that endeavor is grand in scope. The golden ship does not waste its time on petty actions or minor deeds. Alternatively, this card turn might suggest the intervention again, possibly in a positive way, of someone wealthy, well-respected, or influential. So, this is... oh, buddy. So, whether or not by some... I think that it's almost like you hear Chenroy his words echoing in yours, and you think of like this like sea salt spray air. You think of that teal hair that he's got and the curling mustache and this kind of daring bravado, and maybe, just maybe, like this legend that you've built for yourself begins to infect almost like, but really symbiotically, Mac. And Mac is just thinking and concentrating, and you smell that same salt air. And you see Mac reach out and grab an aggregate almost out of the air as a thread. And again, that salt air just begins really filling your nostrils this time. And at this point, you see there is a little swirl of water. And that starts forming in his hand. And you realize that he has grabbed the sea aggregate out of the weave. And Mac looks at something. I remember a stage?
Was it large or small?
It's a big stage. Really elaborate. And he moves one hand and the wave jumps to the other palm.
And there were people watching you?
All kinds of people. Real fancy dresses and party attire. It was really nice. I don't remember.
You were performing. You were playing an instrument.
No, I was talking, but I was moving with a purpose. Again, like that water is starting to form whirlpools. But that concentration, I'd like you to make me an interaction roll. As you try to help Mac remember this part of himself?
Sure.
4?
Sure.
Okay, sure.
Let's, no, I'm rolling. Let's roll. Let's spend a bene.
All right.
That is 7 on the die, 8.
All right. So as you do this, you realize that like Mac's struggling. What do you say to kind of focus his attention?
It's struggling, like he's about to kind of like lose this
He's about
path
to
he's on.
he's about to lose it, but he's also, you see that what you almost mistake for gray hair at the temples is actually him beginning to desaturate. And you realize that he is phasing in and out of the gray momentarily, his mind. What are you doing?
Okay. And oh shit. Okay. I'm going to I'm gonna make a weave.
Okay.
I'm gonna weave heart and winds, and I'm going to create the sound of a ship's bell, just the clong, and some seagulls, and bring him back to the water that he's looking at.
And at which point you just hear, as if reciting a monologue from memory, I hear the ship's bells. They toll that I might see my home again. And suddenly that desaturation, full color back. And ho!
Welcome back.
I remember something. I performed. I was reciting lines. It was, I don't know, people used to want to hear me say things, and that's something I don't remember ever having in the gray, that's for sure. And you get the sense that you have unlocked a large part of this skill set for Mac. And it's just like, the raging rocks and shimmering shocks. That's something. I don't know, maybe it'll come back to me. And I will also basically unlock this knowledge as you realize, Maurice, that if you can help Mac and be this effective of a teacher, you can teach other people. And you can do it in such an effective way. And effectively, mechanically, you are now able to teach other people your secrets, given enough time and enough work.
Okay. Maurice, realizing that he is also a student here, looks at the water. I imagine Mac is kind of like still passing it back and forth between his hands. And Maurice says, "May I?" and attempts to grab this thread himself.
All right. I need you, this is going to be a difficulty 10. I need you to make a sorcery roll. I'm going to give you an extra die to represent your command. So I need you to roll a 10 on one, the equivalent of a 10. I'm going to give you +1 for your magical knowledge. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And sorcery, I mean, I'm spending what? It doesn't spend the same.
You can
As bene.
you can spend it as normal bene, as a normal attribute. You cannot treat this like a weave.
Great. So I'll do 3 since I have that enhanced thingamajig.
Okay, so you need
And
to
I'm
roll.
rolling 2 dice.
You need to roll a 6 on either one.
6 on either one. It's a 6 and a 7.
You feel it in your hand. You feel this inspiration that Kenroy inspired and passed on to you, and you passed on in turn to Mac. And you feel that sea spray. What does it feel like to you?
It feels weightless, and the flecks of it are kind of misting on my face and kind of catching in my beard.
Mm-hmm. And the salt water air fills your nostrils, and you have command of your third aggregate.
the water, Maurice held out his left hand for the water to go to, and the water instead jumped to the tentacle hand, and it's kind of going in and out in between the tentacles.
Yeah, and as you do that, I don't know if it's maybe like almost like a phantom limb, but the water almost forms a normal hand around the tentacle before swirling back, and you kind of again like exert your control over it, and you said, "No, this is me. This is who I am."
Maurice, with like that full, like that unspoken thing where you pass an object to someone and you feel them take it before you let go, gives the thread back to Mac and says, "Thank you. Looks like we've both tapped into something that we didn't know we had."
Yeah, that's amazing. I can't even wait to learn the second one. And at which point, Mac's enthusiasm is really kind of overwhelming. You are pretty dog tired, though.
Who's hungry?
And we kind of fade out of this. Now, we're going to be moving at a pretty breakneck pace, but I am going to go ahead and give us a break, 5-10 minutes. Now, let's pick up where we left off. With Kyrrie and Twigg. You have been discussing this vision that you had. So we're going to start again with a little bit of music. Yeah, so you guys are discussing this, and I think at this point, Twigg, you are having just blinding headaches when you try to think about the detail of this person you didn't know. So, what do you do?
Twigg won't be bullied by anybody, especially not a migraine. I think Twiggs just kind of like gives like does the one finger kind of like
Yep.
Oh. Huh. Interesting. Twigg is going to cast Memory Spew with the additional bonus to choose a memory to throw up that memory and so on themselves.
Okay. Bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him. So, okay. You are going to go ahead and cast Memory Spew. Yeah, you succeed. There's no issue with that. And you spew up the memory of this notion.
Yeah. I think, so one of the fun things about Memory Spew is that the it's like a gelatinous orb. I kind of picture it about the size of a racquetball. But like what the memory is kind of dictates what it smells and like looks like.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like?
I think it looks and tastes like these are war days. So it tastes like a K ration.
Like the good part or the bad part?
Probably the good part. Because you were with friends.
I will mainline some like peanut butter from an MRE. Like, it's awful and I love it. But okay, so all right. I think so. Yeah, Kyrrie just sees Twigg kind of do this and then go, and like throws up this ball of like this ball that has like, despite somehow looks like swirling peanut butter.
Yeah.
And Twigg just goes, I know this is not entirely appetizing, but you should eat this.
Excuse me. What?
It's a memory.
You want me to eat what you have just expunged, expelled?
Yeah.
Do you
So
have any salt?
I do. Would you like? I have this weird
salt, like it's pink salt that's like tinged with the red sun. It's kind of got a little bit of a zing to it, or I have like regular kosher salt.
I'll take the interesting salt.
I think Twigg salts this fucking memory like it's a fucking hard-boiled egg and hands it to Kyrrie on it. Like I think all of their dinnerware, their flatware, everything is salvage, so nothing matches. But there's like a slightly chipped teacup saucer. Just hands it to Kyrrie.
Like she looks up at you and her eyes just look like mildly betrayed, like, why would you ask me to do this? And she goes, is there etiquette for how you consume a memory? I've never done this before.
I usually just hork. Just get it over as fast as possible.
Hope no one was eating while watching this.
So I will do you this favor. Because Twigg is a logivore, they don't digest food so that it's like this nasty bile or what have you. It's literally kind of conceptual. So it's doesn't like kind of like radiate a noxious smell or anything like that. It actually smells somewhat pleasant. So you are given kind of like this mercy as you kind of look at the...
Right. So Kyrrie she slightly salts the memory, and then she brings the plate to her lips, looks at Twigg and goes, down the hatch, and just takes it like a shot.
Oh gosh. Okay. So I am going to once again. So Kyrrie, you are having this flashback to, you are seeing things once again from Twigg's perspective. Having had this experience when you uttered to them, Lieutenant, what do we do? You are once again kind of, you're not as jarred because you are basically prepared. However, what is jarring to you is the moment when your friends show up. You are, of course, startled by not only Maurice in his youthful vigor kind of showing up. There's something very familiar about the woman, but as you look to focus on her, as you are beginning to move your hands to each of their temples, you recognize that it is your sister. You know instinctually exactly how she wears her hair. However, her scar is much fresher and angrier. And there is something else that I need you to make an intellect roll. Depending on how well you do, you'll get a few pieces of information here. But your challenge is going to be 10 for kind of to get a big picture.
Yeah. All right. And that's 4.
Okay. So the thing that you get is I think that you are moving your hands to your sister's temples, and there's a weird texture as you feel her skin, but you are dragged over to the by the eyes of the woman who you do not recognize. There's something very familiar about her eyes. There are 2 separate colors across each iris, and you realize that you have seen this in Gavriel's eyes specifically. The specific coloration. And that is when you get, similar to how Twigg was, pulled out of the memory.
I think Kyrrie reels like jolted, just thrown back, and like has to take a minute, I think, kind of just breathe. And then she looks up at Twigg. That was remarkable. I don't know what this means, Twigg, but I can tell you that it wasn't me in that memory. It was Allegra. I suspected that, but it was hard to believe. It doesn't make any sense. None of you knew Allegra. She never registered to any of you when you met her on the Vancian campus. What part does she have to play in all of this, I wonder? Why was she there?
Does she have a scar?
She does, yeah. Which is why when you said that, it didn't make sense. I didn't think, I thought, well, maybe I could have had a scar like that at some point. Maybe you seemed certain it was me, but in seeing that memory, I just knew instinctually that it was her.
Huh.
The other thing is that woman, the woman, she has the same eyes as Gav. And Gav is missing from that memory. Gav is nowhere to be seen. So what we have someone with Gav's eyes and my sister and you and Maurice.
The pregnant woman.
Yes.
The eyes.
Yes.
Oh.
I have no idea what any of this means.
Do you the uniforms though? The uniforms. In the radio tower. I saw a memory of you calling me Lieutenant.
Yeah. I don't understand. I suppose my sister and I could have been in the same unit, but why would she remember and I wouldn't? That doesn't seem to make any sense.
If you remember,
you can tell Kyrrie's really rattled by this.
Yeah. If you remember the end of that, I think that may explain why we don't remember anything. Because Maurice and Allegra, I took something from them. And based on my Twigg vaguely waves their hand at themselves. Abilities, productivities, general digestive habits. I suspect I took their memories, but it seemed like that was part of a plan.
I wonder if my sister remembers, or if that's a blank for her too. We've never talked about it. She only has bitterness associated with before the war. When we do speak, it's never really a heart-to-heart, as you might imagine. Maybe I'll send her a letter. See what she knows. But what strikes me is there's not much more we can do about this until we have everyone together. And on that note, Twigg, there's something I should tell you about bringing you back to Maurice, which is that Maurice has the war report.
Come again?
Basil gave it to him, but Basil made him promise that all of us be together when it's opened. If we want to unpack this memory, we might need what's in that document.
Huh. You just gave it willingly, huh?
That's what Maurice said, yeah.
God, I fucking hate that guy. I think Twigg is just kind of like doing the full pinching of the bridge of the nose, just like, God, fuck. Okay. Well, here's the fun part. I'm going to need that back.
Excuse me?
And we cut away. So I'm going to actually, I think, given the pace of the action, I want to cut back to Gavriel. I think just because you were in pursuit. Wait for this real quick. Apparently there is a motorcycle parade out somebody's window.
Fury Road style pursuit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I am gonna start back with Gavriel. What do you do as you are chasing this winged figure down the streets of Marquis Quarter?
I think as Gav realizes that there's no possible way she's going to be able to catch up with this angel, but is intensely interested, only because, as far as she knows, she's been the only one that's been sending been graffitiing messages with the little feather symbol around the city. So she's like standing on a high point on one of the rooftops watching this figure fly away, and she pulls on one of her incantations, transfixed in dark devotion to the pattern. So after choosing a target within long range, you mentally know the whereabouts of the target no matter how far away they go.
Yeah, so describe this for me. Describe the intention. How does this incantation look exiting your mind and your body and your will?
I think that as Gav is staring off at the retreating angel, she's like on this inhale. A lot of her magic again is like innate. I think you see these like dark tendrils emerge from the void in her chest around the halo. Most of the magic that she casts is cast from within. And the halo that's normally silver, as it's rotating, gets this like black light aura before this. There's no like explosion of dark, but what happens is this ribbon of darkness pulls, strung up now by the now silver halo again, into a line that only she can see stretching out to the angel connecting. And now she has a clear path, watching this like never-ending spool come from within her.
Excellent. Exactly. It's Ariadne's thread. And it's just that line of black that you can clearly follow. And you, I will say this, as you cast this spell, there is the flutter of feathers from inside your mind, as it seems like all of the host of the choir seem to kind of get more active all at once. What do you do?
It's not somebody that you know, is it? I think she's thinking to Athariel.
At which point, not yet. Maybe soon. She's very distracted. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, like, I think I would hope so.
Yeah, there is kind of like a sense of confusion and muddlement after you cast the spell. What do you do?
I know that I have to get prepared, because I've got all the information that I can possibly have on my end to make my way in and out, given the new suit that I've acquired. Now all that's needed is the accomplice.
All right. I will say this. You know exactly where she is until the sun rises.
Right.
Okay.
So tell me what I feel. Do I feel it after a certain point she stops moving? Because that'll give me a great starting point, regardless of when the spell ends.
Absolutely. You feel again that instinct, and you have tracked a few people throughout Satyrine, so you have a general sense of the layout. And your instinct that she was heading towards the Confederacy of Cloisters is very true. Like it's true to where you imagine she would end up.
Any particular spot though, because I think the way that the incantation is worded is specific. Like I know where she is.
Oh yeah. You reach out with your senses. You reach out with your consciousness. And the halo spins, that dark set of threads still following all the way out. And you see in your mind's eye a disused cathedral. one fallen into great disrepair. There are a number of statues and statuary surrounding it that have seen better days. Many of them broken, cracked into torsos. Many of them, basically, several of them have winged figures. Many of them angelic in nature, but not like any angels that you may be aware of. They seem to be angels that are more native to Satyrine. So you are kind of thrown off a little bit because you have that knowledge of angels in the gray versus angels in the actuality.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what you get, I will say.
Terrific.
Yeah, you have also
pretty cool.
a pretty exact sense of direction and distance, so remember that. Okay.
It has been noted.
Excellent. Yeah, so let me go ahead and... All right, so I take it you are going to reach out to Kyrrie or wait for her to come back to you? How do you guys arrange this typically?
I'm gonna say that we probably pre-agreed on a time to avoid a paper trail.
Yeah.
Haha.
Yes.
Stop sending me letters.
It was
Cap for
vague.
cutie, what were you thinking?
So she's gonna head back to the ruined expanse and her hideout. And she knows when she's supposed to be when Kyrrie is supposed to be meeting her there.
Okay.
I'll say Kyrrie is probably tracking the time that, she's with Twigg as well, and will be like working to that goal of getting Twigg back to stay with Maurice temporarily, and then she'll go and find Gav.
All right, and just for the sake of posterity, Twigg, do you head back to Maurice's ashram? Or Kenroy's, I should say.
Yeah. I think actually, how much time do I have before? I don't know. Well, first off, yeah, we cut away from the memory retrieval.
But you have it now. We'll just say that.
Yeah, Twigg's got it back. That's back in their head. I think Twigg wants with directions. We'll meet you there.
Excellent.
Like the next day. Would the next day work for Kyrrie?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Cool.
Kyrrie just sort of wants to deliver Twigg to Maurice and show Maurice that she accomplished that goal. She's a goody two-shoes. She likes to do her job well.
So we will revisit that the following day. You are now meeting the day before with Gavriel.
Oh, the time thing is gonna... So this is taking place before that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Got it.
Time. What is it?
Who knows? That said, yeah, so I want you guys to describe for me, is there a system by which you kind of go into the ruined expanse, check, make sure, confirm identities and all that?
We really do. We're like part of it. Well, we need funding for all of this. Hence, right now it's pretty much just Gav being a creeper and watching people come into her area. I imagine like she's like probably post up on one of like the crumbling ledges of the outer building that is serving as like the shell of where she's at, and like her legs are dangling over. She's just sitting there as she's watching Kyrrie come walking up.
And I think Kyrrie, has gotten used to breaking into people's homes, and just making herself at home there now. So I think Kyrrie, just sort of waltzes up and waltzes in. It kind of just like, makes a sign of hello up at Gav.
Okay.
We're a few minutes late.
A few minutes. I would hardly say. At least I got the proper day.
Timing is everything in an operation like this.
I know.
Come on down. And she hops off. She like parkours her way off of the high ledge, like moving between some of the close together walls before hopping all the way down.
Mm-hmm. So what have you been up to?
Reconnaissance. I think I've mapped the entirety of the bank to the best of my abilities. But the rest is going to be a little bit up to chance, as most of these things tend to be. But luckily, I've got a little something that I think is going to make our lives much easier. Come, I'll show you. And she leads Kyrrie down into the proper underground. And it's starting to look more like a livable space. Outside of the corkboard and the red string and all of that. And the weapons that are just out. She pulls out of the case the red lacunae suit. This is what I had. Being prepared.
Wow. Is that a lacuna?
It is.
Is it made of its skin?
I didn't ask. Some things I think are better left to the imagination.
Oh dear. Well, it seems like it will at least serve its purpose.
It better. So you have your new false identity ready to go.
Yes, I've been doing some research in the public records about someone to become, and so I've picked someone in the Satyrinian upper crust. Recently arrived back in the actuality, so she's close to my age. She's someone of stature, but not well known enough to be a public figure or someone who would be instantly recognizable, and not back long enough to have re-established herself as a mover and shaker in high society. So I think she would naturally have a reason to set up a new bank account or reunite with her existing assets, should she have them. And
will it be enough to get them to open the vault?
I think so. I can't imagine. I don't know quite what their security is like, but...
Big.
Yeah. Large.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll just have to be convincing then, I suppose.
Oh, you're much better at talking to people than I am.
Well, I was of the upper crust in the gray, so at least I can do something with those skills, I suppose.
We all have our faults. Gav is loading up her rifle. Hopefully she's not going to need to use it, but she never goes anywhere without it. Couple of knives just in case, some standard affair of things, and she grabs the suit and she goes behind some broken down whatever pillars or something that's down there, and well, I haven't actually tested this out yet, so no time like the present.
What do they say? There's a trial by fire? Idiomatic expression?
That's pretty much how I do everything. But this had better work. And she's slipping it on. I imagine it's got a hood.
Oh, yeah.
Well.
By the way, you are kind of trepidatiously putting this on. You're like, oh God, is it a lacuna skin? It is actually it's almost like a very plush velvet when you slip this on. It's very comfortable. It seems like Luster has been paying attention.
You hear Gav muttering to herself as she's slipping it on, and there's not a lot of protection that's really offered here. I'm going to want to make some adjustments to this if I can. Most of the money is probably going to go to some of that, as well as some security around here, because I can't afford to just sit up on the roof every single night and wait for you to show up. And then she steps out around the the pillar that she was probably changing into, and I think right now it's red. She's not activated the obscurity. That is something that I must activate. Is it automatic?
You do have to activate to change the scenes.
That's what I thought.
So I will say, you remember that if you activate the second ability, the teleportation, you up the depletion chance, but you can basically at will change the scene to either your surroundings or to the area around you. And you would have to check depletion each hour when you're using the first ability.
That's right.
So yeah, in the meantime, you can use an action, change it, and as long as it's active according to something that you imagine or something that you want, as opposed to...
It seems specific, places that I had researched very well and seen, hence a lot of my walk around this building, look at everything, make sure I know exactly what it looks like, to make the obscurity as complete as possible. So I think at first you're seeing, Jesus, I keep thinking about like Red Hood right now, so that because it's like a bright red outfit. But then like Gav goes, then she slips the hood on. I'm going to need to put some sort of like goggles through this to make seeing easier, and she just sort of snaps her fingers.
Yeah. And what is the scene that you pick?
Well, I'm trying to chameleon, so I'm stepping in front of the crumbling facade of this pillar and hoping that it just sort of blends me out into it.
It is a very disconcerting feeling, Kyrrie, because initially it seems like Gavriel immediately becomes like a lacuna, which are very discombobulating, like people to talk to in general, just because their body and their silhouette forms a scene from elsewhere in the actuality. But then to watch that person disappear, and then it's almost kind of like a magic eye where you kind of have to move your head to see the shimmer in the space around where Lacuna Gavriel previously was.
I think Kyrrie sort of tilts her head like to each side, goes, that really is quite remarkable. You have to concentrate to see there's really a difference at all.
Perfect.
Yeah. Excellent. So you have begun this prep. What else do you guys discuss, or should I just leave that to you?
I think Kyrrie will say, I'm quite pleased to come up with the idea of a persona because, well, I was concerned about terrorizing the tellers, and this reconciles the affront to my code of ethics.
She pulls the hood down so it's a little bit easier for you to talk to her.
Just like a head sticking out of the middle of the column.
She'll turn it off. It's just the deep red again. She's like, I never said that I wanted to terrorize anyone unnecessarily. The point is to get the money.
True. Although if we're going to break the law, we may as well do so with subtlety and style. Where's the panache in waving a gun around and barking orders like garden variety cat burglars? Drop your cash in this sack? Not very much my style.
I've never been one for theater or the dramatics. It seems to take away from the efficiency of getting the job done, but I'm going to take your word for this one. But while we do need most of the funds for us to do this crazy thing, we're giving half of it away.
That works.
The bank that I chose, it's the richest one in the city.
Oh, I know.
We want to start something that is going to last in this city. We're not trying to be overzealous over dramatic criminals.
Well, you have to remember, the only bank heists I've ever seen were in film.
Same.
I guess this is going to be a bit different, huh?
It can't be any harder than raiding a fort or a camp. I've done that. And you don't really want to do that with panache.
Well, I don't think I've ever broken the law before, so if I'm going to do it, I may as well look good doing it.
It's easier than you might think.
Hopefully it doesn't get too addicting.
You have your gun? You've been practicing with it?
A Royale out of the holster. Yes. I know about cover now.
Baruch Hashem. That's really all we really needed for this one. All right. We wait until evening. Closer to closing is best. They'll be tired. If you demand something, they're just going to want to give it to you. You want to see the vault? You play up that fancy lady. They get what they want.
Good customer service, I suppose.
I'll be next to you. And I'll be in the vault. I have a way out when they shut it. Whatever you do, once you leave, come back here.
Okay.
I will meet you here. If all goes well, I might be here before you.
And if all goes poorly...
If I'm not here by the time you walk back, something's gone bad.
Okay. And if things go really, really poorly, I do have a spell which can get us out of there in a pinch, but technically it only is supposed to work for me, and the last time I had it work for all of us, it damaged me quite a bit.
If things go that bad, we're going to need to revisit our previous declarations of no terrorism. I don't intend to be taken before we've even begun.
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, I suppose.
Keep your head on a swivel.
I will.
And I think we're ready.
Okay.
Yeah?
So my question is, when would you time this?
Are we doing it tonight or when in... So I could easily say if you from this point went over to Twigg's and then in the evening just went over to the Marquis District, that would still time out? Or is it a full day beforehand? Time.
What is time? I feel like we could do, I mean, Kyrrie could go kind of bring Twigg back to Maurice, and then the plan is that, you know, once Twigg is safely with Maurice and she knows that, then, you know, she'll meet up with you at the prescribed time, which they've pre-planned to conduct the heist.
Okay. So you will be meeting up the following evening after you've taken Twigg back to Maurice. Okay. So as you are making your way back, Gavriel, do you just stay in this HQ? Or is this where you reside now, or what do you do?
This is where I live. This
Okay.
is me building a home.
Okay. I'm going to turn a card. We're going to see if anything happens. And the card we turn is the Banished Serpent. Mysteries, rats, mirrors, and stone. The color is silver. Yep. And it weakens gold. Meanings balance, exile, punishment. Islay no exile, but for them and their time in the shadow, the exile was self-imposed. The Banished Serpent was cast out, sent back from whence it came. Banishment rids us of a problem, but it does not bring it to a permanent end. It is rarely a true solution. Rather, it is most often a punishment. We banish those who have threatened us or wronged us, because exile is what they fear. The fact that it ends the threat, at least temporarily, is just an added benefit. As a punishment, then, is an act of balance, an appropriate and measured response to an unwanted act. Cast out, the serpent retreats back to its lair to contemplate its next scheme. And I think that for you, because your banishment is self-imposed, your exile, as it were, Gavriel, I don't think that this card applies to you. But I can tell you who it does apply to. Okay. Kyrrie, you take off, you leave to go and await the, your meeting with Twigg again. I will say, before I kind of act on that card, Kyrrie, do you do anything to prepare for the heist? Like, for yourself?
I think, she's been reading up about her alias, who is Lady Victoria Aldringham, Viscountess of the House of Seven Stars. Renowned personality in the Marquis District, but not renowned enough that would be recognizable. And I think, she's contemplating like sinking into another's skin. I think she's seen Gav, quite literally put on this Lacuna suit and just disappear, like wear a Lacuna almost and take on that property, just chameleon into it. And it's a very different kind of chameleoning she is doing to do this, and really has been doing this, this whole time, where she's she's fighting like a person who has brute strength and is used to that. She's got a gun on her hip. These are things she's never done before. It's like she's taken on this new persona and she's trying to make sure it fits and that it isn't too tight in places and that it really still is her.
Excellent. Okay. So you are making these internal preparations. You are kind of trying to get into the mindset of this upper crust person, which, you know, is not as much of a stretch as you remember your kind of take on the gray. And you are thinking, I think that, and you're also kind of possessed with thoughts of your sister naturally. But I think it's with this knowledge that you kind of go to bed, unless you're planning to do a dream study or something along those lines. You just kind of rest up for the next big day. So, Twigg. As you are sleeping, your dreams are fitful. They are possessed by a nightmare of silver. A half mask staring at you, a ruined face on the other half looking back balefully at you. And this nightmare, typically, it just seems menacing. You remember that blank countenance and that the barrel of the mother gun staring at you in the gray. And it's in this position you see Jaren pointing the gun again at you. And Jaren says, "You didn't think you were going to get rid of me that easily, did you?"
It was worth a shot.
And yeah, you hear the report of the gunshot, but what happens is, rather than it just being the gunshot, it is the staccato laughter, rasping of Jaren firing, ha 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 ha, pow! And you wake up. And you realize you have a problem.
Which one?
Pick one. We'll figure it out as we go. Okay.
Is there an acute problem I should be aware of?
I don't know, man. Or I don't know, buddy. You gotta we're gonna figure it out as we go.
Whatever, I'll kill him a third time. I don't give a fuck.
Okay.
We'll just do a seance. It'll be great.
Yeah, that's
Is there like a murder seance? What's a murder seance?
Suitably spooky. I think it's like, is that
I
the
think
same
that's
thing as
just
like banishing a?
Ghostbusters.
it is almost October, guys. Okay, so I will say that as you kind of have recovered from this, I believe Kyrrie makes her way back to your place. You meet with her, and with very little cajoling, you find your way to Maurice's ashram.
Yeah. I definitely give fix up a little bit of a don't let anybody in the house when I'm gone, okay?
Okay. And you see that this little sage plant that's about a little bit higher than your knee just kind of posts up and stiffens as though like a sentry.
Twigg gives it finger guns.
At which point you just see these like little twigs just go. And it's really trying very hard to snap twigs. As though to give you finger guns back.
My damn heart. It's everything I ever wanted.
So, Maurice, you have, I believe at this point, you've had this really great breakthrough. You felt the aggregate in your hands. What do you do with this knowledge? What is like the following day like for you?
I think Maurice is a bit hesitant and unsure with what to do with Kenroy. He wants to tell Kenroy that he made progress and touched this new aggregate, but the last instructions he received from Kenroy were to instruct Mac. So Maurice is rather stiffly saying, okay, let's start the next lesson, which is how to determine the... No, we should start the... Actually, we should go back. We should do this lesson first. Sorry, excuse me.
Mr. Webb, it's all good. I'm ready to learn. Whatever you got.
Yeah, I'll give you whatever I got. So yeah, let's start with sorry, I'm new at this.
Is something wrong, Mr. Webb? Are you okay?
I'm fine.
By the way, make me a perception roll.
A 1.
All right, Max seems enthusiastic.
So, Maurice is looking at a bunch of texts about weaving aggregates, and Mac's not there yet, and he's not quite sure what to do. And falls back on what he's comfortable with and starts talking about Mac's memories and says, the stage, that sounds amazing. Maybe you could rattle off something for me, and gives him the cantrip reverie, and touches Mac and causes him to remember a very happy memory.
And he kind of pauses, and there's a moment where he just says, even in the gray, I mean, I was doing community theater, and we did Death of a Salesman one time, and and he begins rattling off the one of the speeches of where Willie Loman's son confronts him at the third act. But it's at this point where Mac kind of throws himself into the performance, and that's when you see Kyrrie and Twigg in your peripheral vision, kind of being like, okay, something's maybe not interrupt. What do you guys do?
I think Kyrrie will kind of be waiting for sort of a moment to enter, and for kind of to be noticed rather to interrupt what she's seeing, at least as, a very familiar kind of relationship between Maurice and Mac, because this is very much a teacher-pupil thing like they have in the bands as well.
Yeah, and literally you hear what you don't realize is a Brooklyn accent, Kyrrie, at which point there's like this moment of really strong kind of gravitas, at which point, Miss Von Hollingsworth, it's so nice. Who's your friend?
Hi, Mac.
I didn't realize we were going to be performing for anybody. And you see Mac visibly puff up a little bit.
I must say that was a very excellent rendition you were doing.
Oh, thank you so much. I just, I don't know. I did what was in my heart. And
that's exactly what the lesson was about. To feel what's in your heart. The heart aggregate, it's like this, and like puff of sparks, and it says, go play with the spiders game for a minute. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. But wait, which piece? Am I supposed to be the widow or the orb weaver? I'm never sure.
Great question.
Oh, I get it. It's a test. And, well, I'm going to consider this very hard. And, yeah, so at which point you are safely able to leave a preoccupied Mac.
And Maurice ushers Kyrrie and Twigg and Duncan out to the kind of the balcony and begins stuffing his pipe.
I think as they're walking, Kyrrie is like leaning over to Maurice, like, was that an original work? It was a very interesting story.
Oh, I mean, I'll tell you about it again sometime. Well, and he finger flames the light on his pipe, takes a few puffs, and says, "The gang is nearly all here."
Yes, I have brought Twig to you. Or Twig came of their own volition. Of course.
And Maurice kind of pulls out his like tentacle arm and gently puts it on Twig's shoulder. Says, "It's good to see you."
Oh my god, my poor dumb trash baby. Twig, like kind of like is just kind of like pokes your tentacle arm to like kind of see what how much give it's got. Just goes, does that hurt?
As much as poking my arm would hurt, so not much.
That's funky.
Yeah, I hate sis to do that to you.
Fair enough.
Did you get my letter?
I did. I went to the hospital to look for you. We
Right.
weren't there anymore.
Yeah. The hospital is the last place that I saw Gavriel.
I think Twig just does an awkward like, oh, I'm supposed to be smiling right now because this is nice. Yeah. Well, I ran into an angel and they messed with my head a little bit, and now I know where my heart is.
Really?
Yep.
Where? That's fascinating.
I think Twig's gonna look around.
Mac.
Is that
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
is like besides Mac, is there anybody else around?
I think Maurice ushered us all to like a balcony, so this is a moment of the privacy with the three of us plus Duncan.
Yeah.
Is it though?
Mac is
Well, no, it's a very open ashram, so
Yeah, I think Twig will kind of like will like after you've like Twig will then reach over and put a symmetrical arm on your shoulder and then kind of pull in for a quick hug. And then when they do that, they're gonna whisper into your ear, just really quickly, green sun. Green sun.
and Maurice kind of bites on the pipe, says, "It's a long way away. I have
Is it?
something. I have something that maybe is a bit more pressing."
I heard.
It-
Hence.
It requires, and Maurice glances at Kyrrie, all of us to open.
Oh, I know. I'm aware, but I was tasked first and foremost, Maurice, and she kind of like sits up some more like how dare you say I didn't do everything I was supposed to do. I was tasked first and foremost with bringing back Twig.
And thank you for finding them. And he turns back to Twig. I guess the question is, can we make this work with all of us? I heard what happened. I heard what Gav said happened. Maybe you'd like to tell me your own side of it. Maybe also you'd like to speak freely. And Maurice touches Kyrrie and with his other arm and casts telepathy by touch, so they can have this conversation silently.
Nice. I think first, so you hear Twig's voice in your mind just go, "You trust the source? Such a dick. This feels like another game."
I still don't know why Basil would have access to this. I don't remember, but it looks legitimate. And I promise, and he looks at Kyrrie and smiles, I haven't peeked. So you're right. It could be a trick.
Well, speaking from the perspective of a librarian, there's no way to authenticate the document without actually reading it.
Yeah,
Basil's had us together before. I don't see what subterfuge would accomplish for him now.
don't underestimate your kid.
To be honest, I'm not worried about Basil. I'm worried about you and Gav. It sounded nasty. Maybe you want to tell me what happened?
Her pal decided to mess with my head in the middle of a fight. What do you want from me?
Yeah, but after that, you turned the tables, right?
There was a little bit of knowledge buffet.
And it was consensual?
Not really. It kind of hit the whole room.
So, I guess I did hear the truth from Gav. Frankly, I understand why she's upset. How did it get to threats of murder? That's what I don't understand. We're connected, and he squeezes both of you where he's touching you.
Does Twigg have the emotional intelligence to actually?
Roll for emotional intelligence.
Actually, as you squeeze Twigg's hand, I'm going to pull a card because you did cast magic.
I sure did.
Misremembered dream, confusion, mistakes, change in identity.
Oh no.
All right. Dreams are strange constructs of our subconscious, made stranger still because we don't remember them clearly. Yeah, you just have this overwhelming, as you do this, you have an overwhelming sense of deja vu.
I don't respond kindly to threats, Maurice. And I'm not going to be apologized for who I am.
Are you going to apologize to repair a friendship? I mean, the threat came from a place of deep hurt. You can see that.
And for what it's worth, Twig, admission of guilt is a scary thing, but it does acknowledge and force us to examine our flaws. The cracks in the mirror, so to speak.
Logical as always, Miss Hollingsworth.
God, you guys are the worst. Twig says that.
And I think we can safely kind of fade in on this scene as Kyrrie, eventually you take your leave, and having reunited.
She only wants to make sure that they're going to both stay there in terms of getting everyone back together. So she'll like quickly verify that with them before she goes. But
cool. All right.
Make good choices.
Yeah. Bye, children.
And as you leave, there is kind of a sense of still foreboding because you are endeavoring to do this crazy thing that you told neither of them about. And you are also, there's a huge game afoot, and you feel like you're one of the pieces. You don't know which one.
But if there's anything Kyrrie loves, it's games. So
excellent. So, last chance. Do you do anything before the prior day?
No, I think she's mostly just going to walk in with what she's prepared. I think she makes sure she has enough ammunition in her gun should it come to that. I think she does assemble a proper outfit so that she can kind of take on the identity of Lady Aldringham. I think she's probably, not stalked the poor woman, but like read up on her quite a bit and, learned what she could about her appearance such that she can effectively, almost in a kind of reflective way of what Gav's doing with the suit to like blend in, create a convincing enough impression that, people will just see her appearance, like what Lady Aldringham wears, the way she carries herself, and not notice that maybe the face is a little different, and just kind of say, oh yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, you take clippings from the Satyrine Sight and Sound about like kind of like, what was it, the little socialite section, and basically about town sort of sections and clippings and photographs, and you have that as reference, and you are remarkably resembling her, and especially as you begin adding the accoutrement, all of the vintage dresses, as well as kind of start styling the hair. Gavriel, do you do any final last minute preparations?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gearing up. I've got like a couple of like satchels that I'm like tying off around this belt that I'm like, situating everything on that I'm gonna need. As I'm really hoping that I won't need to fire a shot, but I have contingency plans for this one.
Okay. So, we are going to smash cut then. And I need to put on some appropriately thematic music. Alright. So, also, Kyrrie, you are standing in line at the bank. There are a number of people in line. You are dressed as this Viscountess. I'm going to turn a card, but while I am deciphering that, I would like you to describe for everyone how you resemble the Viscountess.
Yes, so Kyrrie will have opted for more of a 50s styling, actually, apart from her normal kind of 1930s look. And so, it's a very like Dior kind of gown. It's got like a very nipped in waist with a very full skirt, just complete opulence. Jewels, she's been able to at least, find some plastic versions that could appear as though they were real jewels. She's wearing gloves up the length of her arms, like black opera gloves, and is carrying a very tiny little handbag that looks very dainty on her wrist. And her hair is all done up in, quite the updo with like quite a swoop bang, but lots of curls going all the way down past her shoulders. And, she's styled her makeup in such a way that she's kind of going for looking like the classic 50s woman, such that like facial features are not as easy to pick out. You just look and you're like, oh, that looks like glamour. That looks like someone important. And that's the effect that she's intending to give off to the tellers.
Excellent. And there is a clerk behind the desk. As you walk past, there is that armored kind of guard stands at attention, but you realize that it just kind of seems to be taking in every person as they come in and then returning to a standard task. I will tell you this, with your knowledge of magical lore and abilities, you do not know whether or not this is a thought form, or whether or not it is a magical automaton of some sort, or whether or not this is a person that has been through a great number of changeries. You can probably would be able to kind of ascertain that, but right as you are kind of taking a closer look at this figure, a clerk behind the bank says, hello, how may I help you today?
Good evening. Well, don't you know who I am?
And I need you to go ahead and make me an interaction roll.
Yup.
And while you do this, Kyrrie, Gavriel, where are you?
I would have joined up with Gav about a couple of blocks before she turned to head towards the bank. And she, for the first, like, I think for one of the very few times, like, Gav is leaning on the omniscience of her angels in her to literally, like, she's standing next to Kyrrie and is like displaying the scenes behind her.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like there's nothing here. You can see the movement of it. So it's like Ithariel is like watching.
Yeah.
And like like feeding me this kind of weird information. It's very jarring because it's kind of like all of my focus is now in panopticon vision. And I'm trying to remain focused on just like shifting in the space as I'm moving with Kyrrie.
Okay. Okay, so Kyrrie, tell me your interaction result.
It was 8.
Okay. So, at which point I think that your disguise is so well done. You just hear the clerk say, "Oh, Viscountess! It's our pleasure to have you here today. I'm so sorry. What can we do for you?" And
Thank you for correcting your mistake.
while
It's very kind.
while you are like making this conversation, Gavriel, I need you to roll a movement bene.
Yup.
And I am also going to give you 1 to your venture, as now focus has snapped directly on Kyrrie. So Kyrrie, tell me this. Yeah, go
Papa
ahead.
Bene in that as well. Just
Excellent.
Here's
Cool.
that's gonna be so it's an 8 on the dice, but you gave me a 1 and I'm using 1, so it's a 10.
Excellent. Okay. So yeah, Kyrrie, you don't even sense Gavriel behind you. You that sureness, that surety that you practice comes to the fore. What do you tell this guy?
I'm here to gain access to my vault. I'm sure you have heard that I've recently returned to the actuality, and I would like to access my assets.
Certainly, absolutely. Please come in this way. And at which point the clerk moves from this big circular desk with kind of a notch in it and moves to the opposite wall with what appears to be like an oaken paneled but solid surface. And I assume both of you are moving fairly closely behind. Okay. At which point you see the person whisper something to the wall, and the wall, that oaken paneled surface, opens into a archway, a door, and he steps through. This kind of youngish, foppish looking man with a fairly well-to-do suit. What do you do?
I think Kyrrie will sort of look to him and go, "Hello."
Greetings. Would you care to join me, or?
Yes, of course. Don't you have refreshments of some kind at this establishment?
Certainly. And he says, while I go ahead and prepare the refreshments, please make yourself at home. There is a couch in what appears to be an anteroom that he has just opened the way to.
Oh, thank you so much. Very kind.
I'm slipping in behind.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. And as you slip in behind, you notice you get kind of the full view of the antechamber. It is not very large. It is like a small circular parlor room. And it seems fairly kind of, you know how there's like a relaxing coffee shop kind of vibe that a lot of like, you know, like Brooklyn places have. Like it's like that, except it's more refined. There are a number of fine accoutrements. There is you know, a number of like books that are just highbrow enough that they're not too intimidating to
What kind of
anybody.
bank is this?
Yeah, it's literally just very upscale. It looks like it's like a nice little waiting area, and on the opposite side is a similar archway, but this one, there's more elaborate framework in the arch of this wood, and as though kind of preparing it from behind a clerk's desk off to one side, the gentleman procures a small beverage in a martini glass and offers it to you. I assume.
Shaken, not sure.
Did you say shaken, not stirred? Oh, absolutely. it's very well shaken. I manifested the magic precisely per your request, Viscountess.
I would like another olive, if that would be all right.
At which point, you can tell that like the clerk has got this plastered on smile right away, and procures another olive and kind of snaps it into your glass.
Thank you so much.
And when you are ready, there's only just the matter of your passphrase, your invocation, as it were. You guys may make perception rolls while you are waiting in this chamber. You may also, I will say, you can spend hidden knowledge, whatever you want to do. And I am going to give you one to your venture, Kyrrie, as you may notice something.
Okay. Sorry, I'm having flashbacks to like National Treasure, where they like guess the passphrases based on where the fingers are on the keyboards.
Spoilers.
Decades old spoilers.
We're gonna have to find the Magna Carta. Okay.
That was a big old 0 on mine. I think I'm focusing right now.
Yeah, you are.
That's a 7 on mine, so a little better.
Okay, so you realize. So there's one thing plus the 1 plus the magical knowledge. The one thing that he's asking for when he says an invocation is he is asking you to input your secret soul. He wants you to invoke it using a passphrase or the trigger for it, or the name, whatever kind of like that is, in order to open the vault. Gavriel, I think there's like a sudden panic a little bit as you realize this wrinkle kind of intercedes. But with that 8, Kyrrie, you do notice on the wall beside you is a small mirror. And we are going to end the session there.
Ooh.
Yeah, so let me go ahead and kill the
What are you
music.
gonna do with that mirror?
Oh boy. It could go a number of ways.
Very quantum leap. Oh boy.
Yeah. So I will go ahead and say, guys, thanks so much for a great session today. Thank you to everybody who watched in and out. I know we had a few folks. Thank you to Dwarf Spike for subscribing via Twitch Prime again. Thanks so much. We love playing for y'all, and we're glad that you guys get to stick around with us. So we're gonna go ahead and do Stars and Wishes, and also, but most importantly, Acumen, Joy, and Despair. So starting with Gavriel. So Marcy, take it away.
What's up? Wow. I'll do. Do you want me to start with the Joy, Despair, and thing first?
Yeah, let's do Joy, Despair first, and then we'll do Stars and Wishes.
I think Joy for this episode. We're getting the heist underway. I saw a cool angel. Pretty good few days, I think.
Nice.
I actually have not racked up a lot of despair, so I have not really gotten a lot of crux lately. I'm having a good time.
Oh, just wait.
A good time.
Just wait.
Don't like that response.
Nope.
Sorry.
Jam the dislike button on
I'm just
that.
gonna ignore the fact that like there's a woman in y'all's past that has my eyes, and let future Gav deal with the ramifications of that, not me, right now.
Excellent. So yeah, and take one acumen. Actually, take one acumen for your normal procedure of preparing and basically embarking on the heist. I would also give you 2 points of acumen as the heist is now underway. So you've taken a step there.
So 2 acumen in total.
3.
3. Oh.
Yeah.
Gotta go shopping soon.
Excellent.
Yourselves.
Any stars and wishes?
Stars, do you have any salt? My God.
That was great.
That was possibly the best line we've had in a session. Just hilarious. Wishes. I'm really looking forward to how Kyrrie's gonna convince Gav to interact with with Twigg again. I'm mostly just looking forward to the gang reuniting and what's going to go down with this war report.
Excellent. So now we follow up with Maurice. So Bill, Stars and Wishes, Joy and Despair, Acumen.
So yeah, teaching is going pretty good. I think this is Joy for Maurice. And then looking at this instruction arc, I think I have completed the steps of getting to know my pupil and beginning the lessons.
Mhm.
So I'm going to mark those off.
Excellent.
And I don't think I can progress the learning arc yet, but that's there. Yeah, so that's it for mechanical stuff.
Excellent. And so take your joy, and then take your 2 acumen and +1 acumen for successfully keeping Mac in the actuality as opposed to letting him segue back into the gray. And finally, any Stars and Wishes?
I particularly enjoyed Marissa's portrayal as a terrible person. Yeah, wishes. I feel like we've been, the trajectory of our group has been doing this, and I can't wait for all of us to come back again.
Excellent. Okay, so for Twig, Joy and Despair, and then Stars and Wishes. Hopper, what do you think?
Pretty easy Joy. I think this has overall been positive, which has been nice. That's been a trend, which is good because I racked up a metric fuck ton of Despair.
Mhm.
So I'm swimming in crux now, which is nice. Yeah, so Joy.
Excellent.
Definitely Joy.
Do you think you completed any character arc work this week?
I think potentially some work on the Who Am I? The revelation that the actual identity of the third person. I think that Twig hadn't connected that the eyes were similar to Gavriel.
Mm-hmm.
That is new information, which now then gives more scope to that memory. Whether that's a advancement of that arc, I don't know.
I will call it a half advancement. Take 1 additional acumen, 1 acumen for play of the game, which I'm going to go into for some measure a little bit later. But also take 1 joy. So 2 acumen total, 1 joy. And for Kyrrie, also.
I do have a star.
Yeah.
I do have Stars and Wishes. That being that your decision to cut right after I said I'm gonna need that back was it was so timely. And just to crib on Bill, I'm excited to see the gang back together. It's always sunny in Satyrine, also, which should have been our fucking title. But I'm excited to see, and I appreciated the fact that you guys pushed Twig to basically deal with like the emotional repercussions and like the actual responsibility for them being a logivore, which is, and doing logivore shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that was good.
I really love, like, every time you guys have a kind of a heart-to-heart is always really great for me to watch. I will say, so take 1 additional acumen, so 2 acumen, 1 joy. And finally, Kyrrie, how did Kyrrie do this week, Marissa?
Yeah, it's been an interesting time for Kyrrie. I think she's been pushed in a lot of ways she's never been pushed, as that card pull at the very beginning of the episode sort of presaged. She's being asked to do a lot more kind of fighting battle stuff that she always thought was not in her skill set before. And so, there's a lot of learning, and she's having to get used to like having to practice and drill and train and learn, something that doesn't come naturally to her, which is very different than her Vancian life. I think Joy just edges out Despair this episode because she successfully delivered Twig to Maurice, and that's, a pretty big step in getting the whole group back together so that they can read the war report, which is, very, very important to her. equally, I think she's sort of, at least so far, enjoying the heist with Gav. It's something very new to her, but I think she's liked sort of taking on this other persona and seeing if she can successfully pretend to be this person. But then again, you know, she has a little bit of despair countermeasuring that in the revelation from the memory Twigg shared, that it was her sister that was involved with Maurice and with Twigg and with this mysterious woman who may be connected to Gav in some way, and not her. And I think that's kind of shaken her a little bit.
Excellent. Yeah, very cool. Would you say that that counts as towards a character arc or no?
I'd say not quite yet, but we're getting there on one of her character arcs.
Excellent. So take one joy for edging out despair, and then take an acumen for reuniting Twigg and Maurice. So for my own stars and wishes, I just want to say, memory spew is the gift that keeps on giving. It's almost like, you know, having memory work be the big thing in your story. That's really gonna pay off in the long run. Yeah, well done. I just literally, as you guys, like, they typed play of the game in the chat, and I was like, I heard it in the Overwatch announcer's voice, play of the game. And or no, wait, pardon me, that's actually the lady's voices, play of the game. It was very great. So I love that. I think you guys consistently keep making really great choices. And
I want to throw out another star to Zach for the Allegra in the
Yeah, that was going to be my star,
shit.
because I really like, Zach, that you're able to like do this kind of surprising of your players, you know, which just speaks to how well you're GMing this in terms of like surprising me and surprising Gav with knowledge that neither of us know, you know, are a
Like,
thing.
you surprised us with knowledge you already gave us. What the actual fuck?
Just be like, look, I seeded that thing several episodes ago.
Oh yeah, it's let me just tell you, I have a plan. Yeah, so thank you guys so much. That means a lot. But I don't want to dwell on that. I think the most important thing now is shout outs. Marcy, you got any shout outs for this week?
Yeah, everyone needs to tune in Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time for the conclusion of our Flights of Fandom Star Wars game Longshot, because y'all, it's insane. There were force battles, an Ewok got thrown out of a shuttle. What more do you want? We're gonna build some cybernetic limbs. We're gonna see if one of us dies. Y'all, it's gonna be a good time.
I can't wait. All right, Bill, any shout outs for this week?
I'm gonna throw out to our perpetual friends of the show, Encounter Party, new season. I have to look it up. The new season is launching very soon.
In under 48 hours.
Holy
Woo!
cow. And friend of the show, Party of One podcast with Jeff Stormer. And then just on a personal note, if you enjoy watching actual play RPGs, Whitest Kids You Know have been playing and putting it on YouTube.
Sorry, what?
If you don't like Whitest Kids You Know, which there's great reasons not to like them, you won't like this show. But if you do like Whitest Kids, holy cow.
That just blasts me back to the 2000s, like, so fast.
It's as someone who plays a lot of RPGs, sometimes on the internet, it's so different.
Oh my god.
So check it out.
Love it. Hopper, shout outs for this week.
Reiterating that y'all gotta come by Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Like, it's gonna be bonkers. Like, Ewok got an arm cut off, murder stuff, explosions, dramatic things, fiery crashes. Like, yeah, y'all, it's gonna be good. And yeah, just, I guess, also reiterating Encounter Party because we're so proud of you. And the other podcast that Jeff Stormer does is All My Fantasy Children, which is also super dope, and you should check that out too.
Love it. Marissa, shout outs this week.
Yeah, just in the vein of Kyrrie's fancy and scholarly reading list, you should check out, there's actually a series of books, we don't publish them, but Bloomsbury does, and they are excellent. They're called Object Lessons, and they are effectively like these tiny little books that are philosophical treatises on objects like airplane or password or employment, things like that. And they're really fun and interesting and just like this little burst of scholarship and going, why didn't I think about it that way into your day? And totally accessible. Like, you do not have to be an academic to read them. They are fabulous. And so check them out for sure.
Love it. And finally, for my own sake, once again, reiterating, Counterparty is one of the best podcasts out there. They got 100,000 downloads. They got featured in Sci-Fi Wire. Season 3 is happening in 48 hours. What are you waiting on? And I guess Ned Donovan's real cool too. Finally, I will also say shout out to Darcy Ross. So Darcy Ross recently just left Monty Cook Games as the community coordinator. But they have been incredibly helpful to us as a series as we have been going through creating a stream for the first time and creating an Invisible Sun stream. What the hell did we do? And they've been incredibly helpful. I can't wait to see where they end up, and I'm just incredibly grateful. So shout out to Darcy. And then finally, last thing I leave on every episode is I hope and I pray that the invisible sun shines on you all. So thanks so much, guys. And for who we have left, stick around for the raid. And we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye.